And because of
this decree
the rabbis from marrying, he's withheld from marrying on the first day of the week.
The first day of the week.
This that you learn. And it goes on with the phraseology that there. Cool means furthermore.
What does that mean? That
Furthermore,
do we Rashi in English as if it were English?
now you have to be diligent because of this decree of the rabbis. He is being withheld from marrying her on the first day of the week. Now that you learned this, we learn other things that perhaps anything that withholds him from getting married does not make him obligated to feed her. Therefore, Joseph finishes this, in his own name. And from his own
reasoning,
we learn if a person is withheld from getting married because of an accident, machmas means because.
Machmas.
That's why you should have read your Gamora.
It'd be worse.
No, your Gamora is printed better. Shemar printed better, Naphtali.
Is it printed in regular Hebrew? That's not going to do any good.
It's a cleaner print. That's why I told you to buy it. That's why I bought it. Shemarukov Machmasonis, that a person that was withheld because of an accident beyond his control, that he's not obligated to feed her. If he became sick, and so forth,
Zona is Zona?
Zona to feed her.
Yes. Is that also similar to?
No, the zona is a different word that's talking about person.
Zona is a one word.
Rabbi said to feed her.
Zona, what is zona by itself?
It could mean to feed her, or it could mean a lady that is a prostitute.
That's what I was thinking.
But it doesn't mean a prostitute here. It means the sentence tells us that. You can't just go and make a meaning completely foreign to the rest of it.
Zona does mean eat sometimes.
To feed her, that's what I.
This is a common meaning?
Of course. Did you ever mazonos, brachas mazonos? You say
I had no idea the words were related.
Exactly the same word. And you become acquainted. This is it.
I like going there.
There is in the Gamora, it talks about the Gamora Friedlander talks about different types of sicknesses an animal might have, and that even if you slaughtered it properly, kosher shchita, it would still not be kosher to eat because it was a treifa. It had a sickness that it would have died with it, even if you didn't slaughter it. And one of the things is that there is a hole in the crop of a bird, the outside, and the crop of a bird is just also the stomach of the bird. That is called a kurchavon in the language of the Gamora and also a kurchavon. So there was once a scholar that unfortunately never had any practical experience. So he came to the butcher shop and he saw the chicken's stomach. He says, "What's this?" So they wanted to make him tell them, "This is the kurchamon." He says, Gamora talks about it. So he identified it as hope because it comes from the Word of God. There is the Word of God talks about the kurchamon, so it must be holy. He said the same thing here is zona. So you identify with words in mazonas. Here I am. There's a Rabbi that writes in the Jewish press that Eli, Mazuman, here I'm ready. He's sick and he's ready to get married. All right, now we come to the word that you want. Istachvas Sadeu has been flooded his field. That's an idiomatic expression. Loshen Motor Sochi. It's a language of rain inundating a field. From the Posik in Mishle Choftes, in the 28th chapter in Proverbs, Ishtakfa Sodecho, your field has been inundated. What we're going to say, I'm going to explain. Homer has to say, your luck caused it, Ki ma'ayom, that from today, Ani motelis olech olazon. I am resting of Ni motelis olech olazon. I am now an obligation upon you to feed me. Gentlemen, continue from this point tomorrow. But we'll continue. I ask you to review this as best you can. If you have any difficulties, feel free to call me on the telephone. The Subas is marriage contracts. It is one of the most important Gemaras in the Talmud. It is called the key to Shas. it's got so many different subject matters in this Gamora that once you learn this Gamora fairly well, it gives you an entry to almost any other Gamora in the Gamoras, among all the Gamoras. This is talking about marriage. She's usually a virgin. That's the word Basula. That's the first word in the Mishnah. Virgin lady gets a higher marriage contract for rights. She can collect when the marriage is terminated. She gets a bigger amount of money if the marriage is terminated. So it's very important that the amount of money that is specified in the marriage contract should represent the true facts of the situation. If a lady had sexual intercourse with another man prior to getting married, she is supposed to get top money. But if she isn't, now the question is if she full of fraud and claims she is a virgin, when the husband comes to consummate the marriage, he finds out that she's not. The question is whether or not he can go and live with her. In the ancient times, in the early times of the Gamora, they used to separate the first and second stage of marriage. The first stage of marriage is called Kedushin, or sometimes called Eresin. The second stage of marriage is called Nasuin or Chupah. We're talking about a case here where a lady has already gone through the first stage of marriage, and now she's got to go through the second stage of marriage. At the time of the second stage of marriage, that after that second stage, then he will live with her sexually. And at that time, if it turns out that she was not, there's a good question. Maybe she may have committed adultery between the first stage and the second stage of marriage. In the ancient times, they used to divide the time and give enough time for the lady to prepare her hope chest. Nowadays, we don't have this problem because we have both ceremonies, the first stage of marriage and the second stage of marriage, one after the other. And so it doesn't, but in those days was a real question. There was a question whether or not she had committed adultery or not. If she committed adultery, al pidin Torah, he's required to divorce her. It's not this question. The Torah does not permit a Jewish husband to live with his wife if she intentionally committed adultery. Of course, if she was raped, that's something different. There she had no intention. An ordinary Jewish wife that is the wife of a Kohen or a Levi, even if she is raped, she must be divorced by her husband, which is a great tragedy. But the ordinary type of ordinary Israel, a Levi, if his wife was raped, he's not required al pidin to divorce her. It's not her fault. But we're talking about a case here where presumably she was not. The Mishnah says, "B'sulo nisi yom revi." The virgin should get married, that's talking about the second stage of marriage, on the fourth day of the week. The Gemara will explain why this is so. Now, Amana Yom HaChamishi, and a widow lady, that she's not a virgin presumably, should get married on the fifth day of the week. Why? Because twice during the week. The word Shabbos could mean Shabbos, or it could mean Shavuot, week. In this particular case, it means week. The Jewish tribunals were sitting in the various cities. Masheni we have a Hamishi on the second day and on the fifth day of the week. If he had complaints against her virginity, to rise up early in the morning to go. He gets married on the fourth day of the week, which is Wednesday, and consummated the marriage Wednesday night. Thursday morning, if he claims that she was not a virgin, he can come up early in the morning and complain about it. The Gemara later will ask the question, why can't he also get married on the first day of the week? Because he can get up and consummate the marriage Sunday night, and the Monday morning he can also complain. But the Gemara will say that in the case of, we set it up on the fourth day of the week because in those days it took several days to prepare for a wedding feast, at least 3 days. So you Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and then Wednesday you got married. But if it's cut on Sunday, they didn't have enough time to prepare for the wedding feast, so therefore they selected the fourth day of the week for marriages for virgins, for ladies, in certain circumstances which permit others in that day. And of course, if the Beis Din is sitting on every day of the week like we do nowadays, there's no problem. You can get married on any day of the week. And fortunately, we have refrigeration now, so you can prepare for the wedding before on Sunday, like they do a lot of times.
I wouldn't even specify a day for a widow to get married.
They specify the day because later the Gemara will explain in order that she should have the bracha when he consummates the marriage by the widow, several reasons. One is that when he consummates the marriage by the widow, she would be living with him Thursday night, which would be Erev Shabbos, which is the day that God gave the bracha to human beings, to be fruitful and multiply. Another reason, a lady that was married before, celebrate her wedding as many days as a virgin lady. Virgin lady says usually a week. Discuss it later on. Some even celebrate up to a year, but at least a week, where anytime any new guests would come that chose new faces, they would say Shiva brachas over again, like they said. But the Almona, she hasn't been married before. It's not such a big ceremony, and so if he lives with her, he marries her Thursday and lives with her Thursday night, and then Shabbos he wouldn't work. So at least he'll stay with her at least 3 days before he goes to work, back to work. So we wanted to give her that much of a privilege, even though it's a second marriage for her, but we still want to protect her as much as we can. The Rasula should get married on the 4th day of the week. Takon is a Chomim Hik. It is the decree of the sages. She knows of Rabbi Shabbos that she should get married on the 4th day of the week, and before she explain the reasoning. Shabbos, because twice during the week, Abasur. Why does the Basula have to get married on the 4th day of the week? The Sheni on the 2nd and the 5th day of the weeks, the both Yedinim were set up. Why? Shatik and Ezra. It's one of 10 decrees that Ezra Sofer and his business set up when he came up from Babylon to repopulate Zion. After this Zionist proclamation of Cyrus the Great that ends the Divrei Hayomim, the Book of Chronicles, in the Merubah. In the chapter called, starting with the word Merubah, and that's on Daf Pei Beis Omid Aleph. On the 82nd folio on the first side, one dot means Omid Aleph. Of course, the Pulu will explain all of them. And therefore, they made decrees. They also revealed that she should get married on the 4th day of the week. If he had complaints against virginity, Yashkin Labezdin, he would rise up early to go to the Bezdin, while his anger is still upon him. Time, if there are hours between, in other words, more time elapsing, we should worry. There's to worry. Shemi Yispaye, so his thinking would be cooled off. He might keep her. So what is it? Why should we complain? If he wants to keep his wife, let him keep her. We can't permit that. Perhaps she had committed adultery intentionally under him. She was married between the first and second stage of marriage. After she goes to the first stage of marriage, she's not permitted to live sexually with any person other than him. And even he's not permitted to live with her until they go to the second stage of marriage. Well, when she's prohibited upon him to live with her, because obviously, if she had committed adultery intentionally, the Torah law requires that he must divorce her. Hiyal, like we learned in the 28 on the first side and whatnot, made from the Pasik women Tamo. She was closeted alone with another man, and she became unclean. She had sex with this other gentleman. And because he will come to the Bezdin, Yishmor Adover, that the matter will be clarified. If the voice, literally, the news of it, the fact that he's suing her, perhaps witnesses will come that can verify that in fact she had committed adultery. Well, the more will ask the questions. And also Shabbos. Let her get married on the first day of Shabbos. Gentlemen, I want to learn what you are tasting. This is something new. Nobody has learned it yet, except myself. And the 4th taste was on this dot. She have it? Or 4th taste was she wanted to talk to. If you have it, the right hand on the left hand side. And she you have it? 4th one? She yes. All right, gentlemen, you have it? Look where I'm pointing. She on the 4th, on the you have it? Oh, you have it too, Jerry? Yeah. She wanted to talk to. He had complaints of virginity. The came if you ask the question. It is right. Isha's caught of a coin. It doesn't make any difference if she was raped or she did it intentionally. Once she has had sex with another man, she must be divorced by her husband. So it's just one down. Or a lady that got married under 3 years of age. If she got married under 3 years of age, she had to be a virgin, because a lady that is under the age of 3 years of age, if she even was raped, the tokens of virginity or hymen would regenerate. and we regrow again. So those two cases, there would only be one doubt, that she must have committed adultery intentionally. Or even if she had adultery, that was enough to go on. The Leiko Elachat, whether it was whether while she's married or not. The Gamora will explain this later on in the comment test of an Aleph. Abu Shar Noshim, but other ladies, suffix speaker, there's a doubt. What's the doubt? First, whether or not she had sex while she was married to this man that she's married, in the first and second stage, or not. And secondly, whether or not it was willing or not. If it wasn't willing, she's not knocked out. It would be, why is she keeping marrying on the fourth day of the week? It doesn't make any difference. Because it's a doubt on a doubt, we don't enforce it. Only a doubtful case we enforce. But a doubt on a doubt is the chances are so more remote, we wouldn't enforce it. Minutzam gives an answer. The local Rabbana. The rabbis don't make a differentiation with takonoso in their decree. Because of the cases of Eshes Kohen, the wife of a Kohen, or a lady that was married off by her father, less than 3 years of age, because of the two cases of a lady that was married to a Kohen, and under 3 years of age, Tiknu, the rabbis made just a decree across the board. She married on the fourth day. But Kuntras Parish, and Rashi explains, Kuntras means, the commentator explains that we know, the matter will be clarified. The even the witnesses will come intentionally. So, but it's difficult according to Rashi's explanation. Yeah, I'm reading the Gamora, we learn the Gamora later on. We also learn. If a person says about his new bride, I found an opening that was open. In other words, she was a non-virgin. Now, first of all, he's a young man. He's never been married before. What does he know about the anatomy of ladies? And what does he know about whether or not she's not a virgin or a virgin? He don't know from who. And we'll have later on 9 cases the Gemara will discuss where they brought King before the Bezdin. He was complaining about that she was not a virgin. In each case, we found out that he didn't know what he was talking about. In one case, he didn't know what he was talking about. They punished him by whipping him because he shouldn't have known so much about ladies being sexually before he got married. At any rate, that's an aside. Never the Asra he says, so he should be believed to prohibit her on him, and perhaps he's complaining that he found an opening. How do you bring a proof to Rashi? Even though he's not believed, the Gamora there says he's not believed. Well, we're not worried about that. We're saying once he starts the proceedings, perhaps witnesses will come and they can be believed. The Bezdin should rise up early in the morning, go to Bezdin, through this way, the voice will go out, the rumor will go out, he's suing his wife to divorce her. Because the matter will be clarified. The case with answers, I'm not bringing a proof. It'll be clarified to you later on when we learn tests of an Aleph. So, Shehu Boki, or Makar, only that he is knowledgeable and he can recognize even that he is an opening. In other words, if he's been a man that's been married before, so he would know if his new wife is a virgin or not a virgin. But a man that's never had sex with another lady, he wouldn't be in that position to have that type of knowledge. Or if he did, the rabbis will punish him.